So that means don't mention it. Yeah, because of the storm, man, this Monday's been canceled. Ready? Are you ready?
Oh no, I can't see this. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Serena Canarelli, and I have the honor and pleasure of welcoming you to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Venice on this July 4th, Sunday, as our country celebrates Independence Day. Our congregation strives to be a beacon of liberal religion for Florida's Suncoast and a refuge for all who seek a welcoming community, no matter your color, your creed, your ability, your class, no matter who you love, your gender expression, political affiliation, or religious belief. We welcome you in and ask that you not shut the door behind you. Here, we celebrate our differences. You are free to find, explore, and walk your own spiritual path. The only thing we ask is that you respect the spiritual paths of others that may be different from yours. For those of you who are streaming, if you would like to know more about this congregation and its many opportunities for learning, growth, and connection, you can peruse our calendar and announcements on Facebook or on our webpage at ucov.org. If you are watching this on YouTube, please remember to like this video by hitting the thumbs up icon, leave us a note in the comment sections, and click on the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. If today is your first visit here, please stop by our welcome table on the lanai, and if you haven't, please stop by after the service is over and someone will be available to answer any questions you may have. The COVID-19 pandemic hit many nonprofit organizations' budgets hard, and this congregation is no different. Please consider clicking the donate button on our website and giving as generously as you can. Our called minister, Rev Khleber Van Zandt V, will conduct our Independence Day service today, titled The Bonds of Freedom. We hope you will find something in this service that speaks to you and maybe lifts you up or challenges you in ways that lead to spiritual reflection and personal growth. I have two announcements. Adult religious education will take place after the service in the Astelinder House, and postponed tomorrow is Meatless Monday due to weather issues. To next week. Okay.
To the 12th.
To the July 12th, thank you. 5 to 7, thank you. Okay. We are glad you've chosen to join us. Welcome to church today. The prelude begins our worship.
couple of quick items for this morning. We have, since the pandemic, we weren't in here, so we weren't standing for hymns. We've been back for 3 or 4 weeks now. We have not been standing for hymns. I wondered if we shouldn't try to stand for hymns. Let me rephrase that. We should attempt to rise up in body and or spirit, because if you would have trouble standing, don't. Please sit, but you can rise up. So I invite you. You make the choice about standing or not, but there you go. Let's try injecting a little energy into our hymns this morning. There are big changes coming in our music program. Our director of music, Dr. Marcel Leonard, has been our director of music for 3 years. 3 years. Marcy will leave that position at the end of this month. However, she will be back in November as choir director, so she will be able to concentrate on building, teaching, training, directing a choir from November through April. Further, beginning in September, the first Sunday of September, Lisa Frank will take over as our pianist. Some of you know Lisa from her time as the accompanist to Exultate, the chorale here in Venice. Lisa has also performed across North and South America. She has been professor of piano in a couple of universities down in Medellin, Colombia. We look very forward to welcoming Lisa as our pianist in September, and then to Marcy's return as choir director in November. The music committee tells me this is a win-win-win. I think you're going to agree. On a more somber note, later this week, on Saturday at 1 p.m. in this sanctuary, there'll be a memorial for Jay Smith, Jack Smith's son who passed recently. You're invited to join us here. You should also know that the proceedings will be live streamed as usual on YouTube, and then the recording of that memorial will be available for some time on YouTube after that. That memorial is this Saturday, 1 p.m., as we hold Jack and Jeannie and Jay and their families in our hearts in this difficult time. Our call to worship comes from an anonymous source this week. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Let us worship together. Now, if you would choose, please rise up in body and or spirit to sing hymn number 146. Soon the day will arrive, and we'll sing both verses to the hymn. Children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world this will be. If we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Some have dreamed, some have died, made a bright tomorrow, and our vision remains in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with new hope, not in sorrow, and a promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Please be seated. Our children have their own religious education class by Zoom each Sunday at 10 a.m. If you'd like to attend or help your child to attend, login information can be found on our website at uucov.org or on our Facebook page. Today, we bring you a piece from Leah Morris, and Leah is going to play with her young friends a song that she's written called Change to Come.
I'm tired of staying home, of missing my friends, tired of online school, tired of everything being closed, having to stay apart at the pool, tired of having nowhere to go except from where I'm from. I know this can't go on forever. I'm waiting for a change to come. I remember the last day right before the pandemic. It was a Wednesday, it was kind of hectic. They decided to shut down the whole school just for 2 weeks, but it's gone on and on and on. Tired of staying home, missing my friends, tired of online school, tired of everything being closed, having to stay apart at the pool, tired of having nowhere to go except for where I'm from. I know this can't go on forever. I'm waiting for a change to come. Tired of poverty and suffering, some not getting paid enough. Tired of some people thinking that color of skin puts them above. Tired of pollution in the land and sea, global warming is just plain dumb. I know this can't go on forever. I'm waiting for a change to come. Coming up through history, we're getting closer together. We've come such a long way, but we can still do better. We help each other and learn to care a little more every day. It goes on and on and on. Tired of poverty and suffering, some not getting paid enough. Tired of some people thinking that color of skin puts them above. Tired of pollution in the land and sea, global warming is just plain dumb. I know this can't go on forever. I'm waiting for a change to come. I'll be waiting for a change to come. Let's be the change to come.
If you have brought, I hope this is on, doesn't sound like it is. This is all an experiment, by the way. If you've brought a celebration with you to church this morning, I'll bring you the microphone, and I think I will continue to hold the mic so that we're not passing our cooties all around. So if you've brought any celebrations with you, I will bring you the mic and let you share them. What was that list from 3 years ago or whatever it was? Briefly, personally, non-politically, thank you very much. Well, I'm sorry, non-partisanly.
Good morning, I'm Lynn Jordan. I'm leaving this Wednesday to go to New York State, my home state, and I will see all of my not very large family while I'm there, but it all depends on Elsa.
Yep. Careful.
Hi, I'm Phil Haxel, and last week we had some trouble gaining access to... It's not... Can you hear me now? Okay. My name's Phil Haxel, and last week we had some trouble gaining access for our ARE session after services, and then we had some trouble with the equipment, so it was a very frustrating day last Sunday. But you'll be happy to know that I came here early. I went over to Esther Linder. I set up the equipment. Everything's running. So we have ARE right after services.
Excellent. It's a lot of work. Celebrations. No cooties.
Oh, I want to stand up.
Okay.
And I want to disrobe.
Gosh. Look at the time.
This is my 4th of July vest, and I took it from my clown bag. I am a certified clown, as many of you have assumed. And I bring it here to wish you all a happy 4th of July. Bang, bang.
Okay, I'm going to up too. Hi, I'm Barbara Griffin. Many of you know that our daughter Karen moved from Venice to Atlanta, Georgia a week or so ago. They got there and found out that the house they thought they had bought was not going to be theirs because it was not going to be finished and the builder was not about to do anything to help them out. So they were panicked for a while, but they had rented a house temporarily, and now they have found another one. So they have been promised that they will be settled in their new house before school starts for the kids at the beginning of August. But it was a really kind of scary situation for a little while there.
Thank you. Other celebrations? Is that a celebration? That was called a segue. If you've brought any sorrows with you to church this morning, I'll bring you the microphone as well.
Good morning, I'm Valerie. I'm still a visitor. I've been here a few times. My dad was 91 and he just passed on Wednesday, so it's been a tough week for us.
What was his name?
His name was Bob Iola.
Bob Iola.
Been visiting for several years, and now we're at the moment officially homeless from up north, and we do have a little place that we're settling into very shortly here, and so we are excited to be spending more time down here and get to know you a lot better than we could in a month that we spent down here.
Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eileen, and I am Jay Smith's partner in life. So I bring that sorrow with me this morning, and I'd like you all to, join us, everyone that can, on Saturday. Jack and Jeannie will both be here in a celebration of life. Thank you.
I'm Marilyn Amick.
I'm sad that my husband had to leave the service because he tried 3 of the portable ear things that help you to hear, and none of them worked. So this seems to be a recurring problem. He's had this many, many times. I don't know if you can do anything about it. Somebody, please.
I think the AV folks heard that. Others? May the gratitude and celebrations among us this day become a blessing to us all. May the concerns and sorrows of each be carried in all our hearts, a burden shared, become a load lightened. And now I invite you into a spirit of meditation and prayer that will begin with a prayer from the Reverend Vanessa Southern, who is currently serving the First Unitarian Universalist Society in San Francisco. So much undone, so much to do, so much to heal in us, in the world. And up against it, the reality of the limits we feel today. We honor those limits. If your body won't do what it used to do, for now, let it be enough. If your mind won't stop racing, or you can't think of that word, let it be enough. If you are here utterly alone and in despair, you can be all those things here with us. If today you cannot sing because your throat hurts or because you just don't have the heart for music, then be silent. The world won't stop spinning on her axis if you don't rise to all occasions today. Love won't cease to flow in your direction. Your heart won't stop beating. All hope won't be lost. You are part of the plan for this world's salvation. The world needs its oceans of people striving to be good, to carry us to the shores of hope and wash the fear from the beachheads and cleanse our wounds so they can heal. But oceans are vast, and some of us won't feel up to the task some days. Rest, if you must, then, like the swimmer lying on her back who floats, or the hawk carried on cushions of air. Rest in these seats made to hold weary lives in space carved out for the doing of nothing much, but simply being. Perhaps then you will feel in your bones, in your weary heart, the aching, healing sense that this is enough. Even this, that we are enough, that you are enough, that even this is enough. We lift up those in this community who face change, challenge, or loss this day as we hold within our hearts all who suffer. And now we pray, each in our own ways, into the silence. The hopes of this community are offered forth in the names of all those who've gone before and in the names of all those who will come after, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Shalom, salam, amen, and blessed be. Our interlude is called We Are Unity. It was written by Leonard Juniel, Sheena Mahoney, and Roy Davis Jr. We Are Unity.
I have a dream of what I wanna be free. That's what my heart keeps telling me. Give me your hand.
We'll find a way.
There's people out there
that feel the same.
if we help each other. I just know we can succeed. We are one, but we are different. We from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same oceans. We are every boy and girl. Come together and share our dreams. We'll be amongst the stars, and we know that it's destiny. And we are unity. We are unity.
I do believe, oh, I believe in destiny. It's up to me to make it into reality.
Give me your hand.
We'll find a way
People out there,
that feel the same.
if we help each
other, I just know we can succeed.
we are one, but we are different. We from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same oceans. We are every boy and girl. Come together and share our dreams. We'll be amongst the stars, and we know that it's destiny. That we are unity. No matter where you're from or who you are, if we can find a common place to be, then we are friends. We are one, but we are different. We from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same oceans. Oh. We are one, but we are different. We're from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same oceans. We are every boy and girl. Come together and share our dreams. We'll be amongst the stars, and we know that it's destiny. That we are unity. We are unity.
We'll make sure the mics are working. When I was a wee lad, I had so many teachers. My parents, my grandparents, other family members, neighbors, and school teachers. Mrs. Clark, Mrs. Phillips, Ms. Brady, Mr. Hackworth. They all tried to teach me a lot of things. And I don't mean just the Battle of Hastings in 1066 and the Articles of Confederation in 1781 and Brown v. the Board of Education in 1954. As if they would have brought that last one up. I had to find out about that on my own many years later. No, they wanted to pass along other things too, like the difference between right and wrong, like how to behave and not to behave, like what is the truth and what is a lie. Looking back, I think my childhood instruction was way more values-based than I could have possibly known at the time. Even that segment on Romper Room about do be a do be and don't be a don't be. Totally values-laden. Teaching me not to act, excuse me, in certain ways, not to think certain things, not to say certain words. And they passed along values to me that way, some of which have held me in good stead. Others, thankfully, I have learned to set aside. Speaking of which, it's July 4th. Happy July 4th. Happy American Independence Day. Now, I think I know the story of this country, at least the way some people tell it. I know we didn't get here without a struggle. People gave their lives so that we could be here together doing what we're doing today, and we don't ever want to forget those sacrifices. Thank you to our people in uniform over all the years who have put their lives on the line for us. Thank you to our wise, mostly founders who dreamed up the systems of government that have brought us to this point. And thank you to the politicians who continue to try to make this awfully fragile democracy of ours continue to work in these desperately divided times. And if we're going to thank people this 4th of July, we might also want to remember those who've been run down and left in the dust, like the original inhabitants of this land, like the ones who came from elsewhere but were dragged here in bondage to do the work others wouldn't do, like the many individuals and groups who've been marginalized and kept down by our culture and our society. It's a big country with a great story to tell, as long as we don't whitewash the checkered parts of our history. And yes, I use the term whitewash intentionally. But back to education. In a column this week in the New York Times, David Brooks talked a little bit about our education as people. He said that great nations thrive by constantly refreshing what he called 2 reservoirs of knowledge. The first reservoir being the stories that we tell about ourselves, about who we are as a people, about how we got here, about what binds us together, about what we find honorable and dishonorable, about what kind of world we hope to build together. This is about identity and what ideals and values we hold most dear. Brooks's own examples are equality, prosperity, and freedom. The other reservoir of knowledge he calls propositional knowledge. This is the kind we acquire through logic, reason, and analysis. It would be what we can come to know using our empirical evidence. For instance, as Brooks says, no, the 2020 election was not stolen. But this means, if this is to happen, this means that more of us than not have to honor the common set of procedures through which we hunt for error, weigh evidence, and figure out what ideas we can hold together in common, which is never easy, but is especially hard in an America where We don't even see the same reality anymore. I have heard friends of mine opine that this is an intellectual problem that can be fixed through education. If those people were educated like we were, they wouldn't think, act, or believe the way they do. But the problem is that that's not entirely true. The problem is not that we disagree on what happened in 1066 or 1781 or 1954. The problem is, Brooks says, that we lack a shared story about who we are and what we're about. So what is our shared story today? I hear people like me who tell a story, just as I did, that goes slightly against the patriotic, the so-called patriotic grain, by acknowledging the dispossession of others down through the centuries. But if you're the one feeling dispossessed for any reason, then another story may ring more true. A story of you and your whole cohort being dispossessed in the present day by a massive conspiracy of educated coastal elites who can't or won't acknowledge your experience, your existence, your right to be. Brooks has something of a solution. He says, if a country can't tell narratives in which everybody finds an honorable place, then righteous rage will drive people toward tribal narratives that tear it apart. Part of the blame, he says, goes to conservatives who try to whitewash history. There's that word again. Part, he says, goes to progressives who tell such a negative version of history that it destroys patriotism. Stay with me for a moment. But the core, he continues, the core problem is our failure to understand what education is. We need to help people learn to feel the proper kind of outrage at injustice, to feel the proper form of reverence before sacrifice, to feel the proper swelling of civic pride, to feel the proper affection for our fellows. This is knowledge, he says, conveyed not through facts, but through emotional experiences. In other words, stories. And Brooks ends this way. It is unfashionable to say so, but America has the greatest story to tell about itself if we have the maturity to tell it honestly. And the 4th of July weekend seems like a decent time to start. End quote. It may not be fashionable either to look backward to liberal politicians from all the way back in the 20th century for answers. But Daniel Immerwahr, a professor of history at Northwestern, did just that in another column in the Times this week. Yes, I read more than the New York Times, but these two things happen to be together this week. Professor Immerwahr was referring to Franklin Roosevelt's 1933 book that came out at his inauguration called Looking Forward, and he writes, in Looking Forward, Roosevelt noted the brewing extremism of his day. But the real trouble wasn't wild ideas, he believed. It was rather the hand of discouragement, signaling that things are in a rut and fixed and settled. Instead of trying to squash radicalism, he wrote, Leaders should greet it as a challenge, a provocation, an occasion to offer a workable program of reconstruction. End quote. Now, Emerwar has big ideas in the rest of that column for reimagining and reconstructing America, as I imagine many of us do. He ends this column this way. Going big might seem unthinkable, but such fatalism is precisely the problem Roosevelt sought to address. We own the house. We are allowed. Doing so would not only prepare us for new challenges, but it would also establish a very important point. The future is open. The future is open. What a great story to tell as we look, hopefully, toward an end to a pandemic. The one memory I continue to struggle with as the pandemic subsides, and that is the big bunch of Americans who militantly declined to wear a mask. There's one now, yes. There is a big bunch of Americans who militantly decline to wear a mask in public settings. You know the ones who said that any mandate to put on a mask somehow obstructed their freedom. So cue the music, that last stanza of the Star-Spangled Banner that keeps going inside my head for some reason. Oh, say does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. You know, the land of the free and the home of the brave can be a scary place when even the most rudimentary principles of public health are derided and dismissed by the people with their hands on the soundboard of social media and the bullhorn of state TV. I saw this all the time, as did many of you, and I only know because you told me about it. Many of us encountered people who firmly believed that the story about the COVID-19 virus and the resulting public health crisis was all a conspiracy, all a hoax, all made up simply to force them to act in a way they didn't want to act, which was maybe to think for a moment about somebody besides themselves so they wouldn't pass along a virus that has killed over 600,000 Americans in a year and a half. I saw people flagrantly flaunting mask mandates, searching of those around them, looking for any hint of rebuke or disparagement, and ready to attack their fellows as sheeple or worse. And I would get mad, obviously, which is what I gathered, at least in part, they wanted. But then over time, a long time, getting mad myself became not what I wanted, because I did not want my own sense of inner calm, my own sense of self-possession, my own sense of our story to be diverted overmuch by somebody else's possibly deep-seated but I think misplaced aggression. So I began to try to check my anger at the door because I found that it just wasn't helpful, it wasn't productive, it just didn't make sense. And this is when it gets difficult, actually. Because when I backed out of that combative, angry approach to my neighbors, it became their problem, not mine. My problem then became that I began to see those folks as my neighbors, as my fellow citizens, as people with problems and brokennesses like I assume we all experience. But that doesn't mean I have to go down their rabbit holes with them. It does mean that I have to see them as human beings, as neighbors, as fellow citizens. I don't have to let them hurt others, spew hate over the airwaves or in the streets. I don't have to let them block other people from exercising their right to vote. I certainly don't have to vote for any of them myself. But I do have to see them as part of the story of this country. Maybe these are exactly the radicals FDR meant that we should greet as a challenge, a provocation, and an occasion to offer a workable program of reconstruction. I didn't say it would be easy. We have worked for centuries to rid ourselves and our fellows and our culture of the bonds of slavery. But there are bonds other than the bonds of slavery, bonds that we take on when we decide to live in a free country. And those are bonds, covenants, you might say, that we agree not to live only for ourselves, but, mentioning only a few, to care for the sick, to visit the prisoner, to welcome the stranger. Those are values I hold dear, alongside equality, prosperity, and freedom. Not a freedom to do whatever the heck you feel like doing without regard for the rights or needs of anybody else, but a freedom to choose, a freedom to tell a story, a freedom to be part of our one larger story. I think those are values I was taught when I was a wee lad. At least they're the ones I choose to keep at this point in my long life. And I'm grateful at this point to all my teachers, my parents, grandparents, family members, neighbors, Mrs. Clark, Mrs. Phillips, Ms. Brady, and yes, even Mr. Hackworth, who never once got my name right in all the year of 5th grade. Happy 4th of July. Be safe in your celebrations and be careful with the storm this week. So may it be. Our hymn is number 134. Our world is one world. We'll sing all the verses, and I invite you to rise up in body and or spirit as you choose. benediction comes from the 19th century Universalist preacher Hosea Ballou. If we agree in love, there is no disagreement that can do us any injury. But if we do not, no other agreement can do us any good. Let us endeavor to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bonds of peace. Go in peace, walk softly on your paths, and may the light of love shine on you all your days.